The Diary of a Certified Psychopath. 30th of August, 2021. Blue Monday Mile Muncher. By account of our omnipresent, all-seeing satellites, a northeasterly frigid enough to induce 2 cold shoulders, making a miserly 13 degrees feel like a measly 12. Incidentally, the thermal tipping point, obliging a cyclist to don longs over shorts, or vice versa, triggers as many heated debates as does frozen kneecaps. With 0 precipitation predicted, I composed what I anticipated will be a subtly breathable combination of comfy cotton for a base layer, loose-fitting lycra on top, and a sweater knitted by Rafa's subterranean army of immortal Nibelungs, made of magic merino wool for filling. Bottom line, it itches, just like regular wool, and please don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Whoops, well, it appears that all along I was looking at Edinburgh's forecast. Well, no time to bore you rigid with Shoreham's local prophecy, nor to return to wardrobe and reappoint garments. Platform up, pedal down, and push off. Being a work-filled and duty-bound day, my aim, when pushing off down Old Fort Road as suggested by the title, was to rack up as many miles as possible in my allotted playtime, and hope that the total proved sufficient to satisfy Strava's daily distance target. Observing a relatively clear roundabout at the mainland, I took the road over the bridge, as opposed to detouring around Shoreham Airport. Heading out of town, I found the traffic lights to be so favourable, owing to one exceptionally accommodating temp, positioned at the roundabout opposite the Amsterdam Inn and Red Lion, taking the bank holiday off along with its employers, that I voluntarily endured what revealed itself as a fairly beastly northeasterly until Bramber Bridge, the section of the A283 which crosses the River Ada. I then changed courses to my tried-and-trusted backdoor Zwift-style figure of 8, known as the Stenning Lasso. Another lasso? Indeed, but one of a wholly non-virtual variety. This soon-to-be trademarked route incorporates several flat and momentously fast sections of the A27, frequently utilised by local TT events throughout the year, as well as Stenning's and Bramber's high streets, the latter and former villages' bypasses, and crucially, covers every one of the aforementioned constituents in both directions. Maintained as consistent a pace as possible throughout, but making every effort not to bust a gut, Mr. Garmin said Zone 2, and topped up my tally with 3 reps of the sections marked on Strava as Bramber uphill drag travelling east and into Stenning heading west, especially swift in a prevailing north wind, and of which a grizzled Rule 5 roadie might claim, "If you're not doing 20 mph here, your bike's probably got no wheels." As I approached Stenning to conclude the 3rd and final rep, a white horse trotted serenely across my path, and I slowed to 0 miles an hour, but ironically still wasn't quick enough to snap a photo. Observed numerous mountain bikers sneaking on and off the plethora of surrounding trails, and negotiated Coombs Road back to the coast thereafter, crawling up the ghastly Col Dannington, a quarter-kilometre 10% quadbuster, and yet another seasoned critter's chance to shine. I concluded by orbiting the very airport I'd avoided when setting off, and just as my recreational allowance expired. Its freshly renovated surface, together with a pronounced tailwind, gave me a couple of extra kilometres of margin for foul weather for Strava's monthly challenge. And now, for a desperately needed piping hot bittersweet beverage. The 31st of August, 2021. Tasks on tie. Another day, another dawn, and conditions as consistent as an atomic clock's tick-tock, assuming, that is, these tip-top timepieces have a tick-tock. Please note the only evidence I reviewed came from a couple of cursory Google image searches, which revealed no apparent existence either of a pendulum or other moving mechanical parts likely to induce a sound that most average listeners would objectively define as a tick-tock. With all that here said, and an officially breathable composition of cotton clobber, a totally task-centric TikTok Tie Tuesday commenced, with Tie alluding to my trustiest steed about town, a classic soft-tail ibis tie silk, complete with makeshift rear suspension, which I shall elaborate on in due course. With my initial stop being the Lions Farm Retail Park to visit B&Q, how utterly riveting, I began the way yesterday had concluded, with a detour round Shoreham Airport, immediately sensing our firm but fair friend from the north of yesterday was now in vengeful and almost fiendish form. Don't fret, for it is far better to embrace and not resist the elements. Moreover, this venerable vintage Tie Hulk's recently fitted 600mm flat bar gave me the chance to execute a constructive combination of spinning and grinding with an uncompressed diaphragm and wide centre of gravity. Reason enough, I believe, for all cyclists to own at least one flat-barred steed. When in the saddle, rest your hands closer together, near the centre, and in a similar position to the tops or hoods of regular road bars. Then increase your cadence to its seated default, performing intervals according to whatever your training or free will dictates. Once tired, bored, or disenchanted, move your hands apart to the bar's left and right extremities and bring those other major muscle groups into play. Core, chest, shoulder and back, to name but a few, with some sub-60 RPM intervals. When utilising a hefty, wide, flat bar, extended periods out of the saddle can be as much of a psychological as a physical benefit, regardless of the headwind you're screaming at. Just stand up straight, open your chest and shoulders, and pretend you're running on the moon. I ventured west along the A27's hopelessly fragmented Cychopath, which seem frequently to have been designed with a malicious intent to cause injury rather than provide a practical and secure amenity for non-drivers. Eventually running out of path at Lancing's roundabout, I bailed out to the south a few turns later. From there it was a pleasant trundle through Sompting, Lancing's smaller, more secluded, intuitively appointed sister village, and civilised host to a healthy array of conveniences. I shall leave Wikipedia to provide the lowdown on parishes, key dates and developments, population data and founding landowners, etc. But speaking from a personal standpoint, I have relied religiously upon West Street, the road that harbours its village hall, as a scenic and serene respite to the deafening snarl of dual carriageway traffic, ever since I chanced upon it during one of many nocturnal explores, aka remedy for restless leg syndrome. Roughly 2 aesthetic kilometres of low-rise flint walls framing far-reaching golden fields, peppered with hay bales and thick hedgerows interspersed with rustic cottages, again, a rare and ornate cocktail so close to the seafront. I've heard terrible things spoken of every one of these localities, but whenever I pass through them, they emanate nothing but alluring peace and therapeutic charm. With Operation Lions Farm completed, I didn't actually use that parking space. I smuggled in a detour up Coombs Road on my return to Shoreham, with an almost fully loaded backpack. Yes, we know it was slow, which gave me plenty of time to soak in the surroundings. Prematurely autumnal fields filled with sheep contentedly grazing, and whose unusual chocolate and cream colour scheme suggested them to be some sort of special breed. Any local care to comment? Then there was a truly spectacular eastern outlook upon the old cement works, where I gladly slowed to a standstill to let pass a pair of white horses, but once more was ill-prepared to take a photo. Pondered an off-piste trail tiptoe back to the coast, but ultimately opted for a strong headwind and tarmac due to mounting time constraints. Safely back on home turf and several parcel drops later, my assignments for the morning were complete, and cunningly merged with 40-odd real-life kilometres for the monthly challenge. A little shy of Strava's daily requisite, but my rainy day savings over the last few days should at least see me through till tomorrow without any need to stress.